This week's in-command deck tech is Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. This is a more casual deck with none of the cards costing more than about $25. We start with the commander Niv-Mizzet. He casts for 2 red, 2 blue, and 2 colorless. He has flying, is a 4/4, and whenever you draw a card, Niv-Mizzet deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and you can tap him to draw a card. The lands for this deck are 1 Thespian Stage, 1 Madblind Mountain, which you can pay a red and tap it to shuffle your library if you have 2 or more red permanents in the battlefield. While we don't play too many permanents, when you can shuffle with it, it's quite the powerful effect. Next we have Ghost Quarter for any pesky lands your opponents are playing. Reliquary Tower, so you don't have to discard. Izakiel Gate for fixing, and then we go on to the basics. We're playing 10 mountains, and 20 islands. After this, we get onto our ramp, starting with Sol Ring. Sol Ring, obviously commander staple. You can pick one up for like $10. After that, we have Gilded Lotus, another staple. Darksteel Ignite, very good for fixing. Jurv the Gitu, she's not actually ramp, but she does let us play our more expensive cards quickly. Because she has 2 colorless, exile an online card from your hand, put 4 time counters on it. It gains, if it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Now after that, we go on to our counter suite, starting with one of my favorite commander cards, Declaration of Naught, which, as Declaration of Naught comes into play, you name a card, and you can pay a blue to counter target spell with that name. It's very good for commander decks like ours that are more focused on the commander, as it stops them from pulling off any combos like we try to. After that, we have Hinder, which is blue and colorless to counter target spell and put it on the bottom or top of their opponent's library, of its controller's library. This is good for getting commanders to the bottom, so they can't be replayed. After that, we have Spell Crumple, which puts the spell counters on the bottom of the library, and this goes on the bottom. This is good with our shuffling effect, so we can redraw it. After that, we have Counterflux, just a way to counter spells and not have to worry about them being replayed, having a counter war on our hands. Dissolve, because scrying is awesome. And one of my favorite counters for EDH, Overwhelming Intellect, because while it's expensive, it does give us a large amount of card advantage if you're countering, say, an Eldrazi with it. After that, we have Negate, just a cheap way to do well in counter wars. And Rewind, because Rewind is free and I like Rewind. The last counter we have is Mental Misstep. While countering something with a converted mana cost of 1 doesn't seem that great in EDH, it's good for stopping things like Sol Ring, Sensei's Divining Top, Thoughtseize against a black deck, something like that. Now after that, we go to our card advantage, starting with Sensei's Divining Top, which doesn't actually provide card advantage itself, but smooths your draws. After that, we have Ponder, which is a textless version, so if you don't know what it does, look at the top 3 cards of your library, you can put them back in any order and shuffle your deck if you choose to, and then you draw a card. This is like one of the most powerful draw spells in Magic, and it's a great way to start off. After that, we have Niv-Mizzet the Draco Genius. He's great because he's just a big dumb beater if you need, and he can deal damage to things to draw cards, so he can act as both removal and card advantage. After that, we have Strumgeist, which rewards you for playing a bunch of card advantage, because he'll just get bigger, and if you hit with him, he draws a card. After that, we have Melek the Izzet Paragon. The way he works is you can cast instant sources on the top of your library, and they get doubled if you cast them from the top. This is great with any of our other card advantage instants or sorceries like Ponder, because it does it twice, giving us twice the card advantage. After that, we have Mercurial Chemister, which just a blue to draw 2 cards is a great rate. Ethereum Horn Sorcerer, he gives us a body, and you can dig with him with the Cascade, you can bring him back to do it again. Snapcaster Mage, great for just recursing any counter spells or anything we have. After that, we have Archmage Ascension, which is a less known card. The way it works is, if it has 6 quest counters on it, whenever you draw, you would tutor instead. Great for a combo deck like ours to find the pieces it needs. Jace Beleren, which acts as a bit of root pug whenever you +2 him, and can just be flat out card advantage when you start taking him down. Serum Visions, because scrying is awesome, like I said earlier. Reforge the Soul, which just lets, basically a Wheel of Fortune effect, that just lets us get a whole new grip if we need to. Spell Twine, which lets us take something out of our opponent's graveyard and our own, letting us recurse, like, say, a Ponder, and then, like, using a Wrath of God of our opponents. Invoke the Firemind, because big draw spells are awesome. Impulse, because it lets us take 4 cards deep. It's one of my favorite EDH cards for blue. Brainstorm, another great way to get just 1 mana, get 3 cards deep into your deck, and if you have a shuffle effect, it's almost like drawing the 2 cards, because you get a whole new, you shuffle away what you don't need. Blue Sun Zenith, because once again, it's really good to have, like, big draw effects, especially this, because you can, like, use it early for not that much and not feel bad about it, because it shuffles back into your decks. You might draw it again. Peer Through Depths, because it digs deep. It's good for, like, and if for, like, someone's trying to counter something we have mana open, we can use this to dig in the top 5 cards of our deck for an answer. Opportunity, because just 6 mana for drawing 4 is a good rate at the end of our opponent's turn. Prophetic Bolt, because it can act as removal for the smaller guys, any impulses, so it's like, so redundancy. Think Twice, because just, Think Twice is a great way, it's a great draw spell. Steam Augury, I'm still kind of iffy about, because it is a singleton format, so if we really need a card, it's unlikely we can get it back after it gets Steam Auguried away, if they pick it from pile. But I like it because it gets 5 cards deep, so I'm testing it out. Dragon Roost, this isn't like flat out just drawing cards, but the fact of the matter is, if they can't get rid of this and you start pumping out dragons, they have to do things to get rid of the dragons, they're wasting cards, getting rid of things you're getting without spending any cards to use. Staff of Nin, because drawing extra cards is great. Temple Bell, which, just another group hug effect, but we're gonna put this on the we're gonna put this aside because it can be part of a combo we use. We're gonna get to like a theme of almost stealing things from now. We're gonna use Hellkite Tyrant, because a lot of people in EDH use artifacts, and just grabbing their artifacts from them is always a great thing to do. Mindclaw Shaman, because once again, stealing cards out of people's hands, just getting the best card in their hand, making it that they don't have it and you do for free, is quite good. Royal Elemental, because basically, if they do not kill this guy the turn you play him, you basically win the game if you can make a couple land drops. Dominus of Fealty, I like this because no matter what, it's always good, because it can take permanents, not just like creatures. So like the worst thing off you are is like grabbing somebody's land and using it to ramp for the turn. Stolen Identity, copying things people have is great. I love copying things in EDH. Rite of Replication, because it just gets you the best thing on the board, and if you kick it, it gives you 5 copies of the best thing on the board. Mind Control, because we're greedy and we want to have what our opponents have. Mind Slaver, because what a better thing to take from somebody than their turn. Curse of Echoes, because playing it against a blue deck, you basically just can't lose a counter war ever again. Take Possession is great, because it can take Planeswalkers and the like. Wild Ricochet is good, because say someone loosens Zenith, we can Wild Ricochet it back to us, and then copy it, so we're drawing double the amount of cards they were going to. And now we're going to go to a package of sort of removal, or ways to defend ourselves. Karn Liberated, just flat out exiling a permanent, or getting cards out of their hand is always great. Curse of the Swine, because there's not that much removal in blue, and just turning Eldrazi into pigs seems like a pretty good deal with him to me. Devastation Tide, because sometimes you just want to set the board. Banefire, because fireball effects that can't be countered are pretty good. Red Sun Zenith, because fireball effects that just shuffle back into your deck so you can draw them again is pretty good. And the fact that it exiles instead of just putting it in the graveyard is pretty relevant a lot of the time. Cyclonic Rift, probably one of the best cards in EDH for the gigantic tempo swing it brings if you can overload it. Hurkyl's Recall, once again, people play artifacts, a lot of them. Just bouncing them out of their hand can be a really big advantage sometimes. Ral Zarek, I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be in here because I don't like him very much. But he can ramp, he can bolt something, and if we ever actually get him off, like even if you get like 2 turns off him, that seems pretty good for 4 mana investment. Temporal Mastery, because who doesn't like taking extra turns? And now we're on to the combo package. Curiosity, because just if you enchant Niv-Mizzet with Curiosity, you can just draw infinite cards and deal infinite damage as long as you have that, which is great. Ophidian Eyes, because it's just another Curiosity. Mind Over Matter, because it combos with Niv, because you can discard the card you draw, untap him, and do it again, and just repeat it over and over. And you can do the same thing with Temple Bell. Enter the Infinite, just because drawing your whole deck kind of makes it easy to reach your combo. Tandem Lookout, because it's another Curiosity effect. And Laboratory Maniac, because even Niv deals damage when he draws cards, but Temple Bell doesn't. So when you're about to deck out, you play him, discard a card, draw a card, he triggers, you win the game. Great in multiplayer when you can't just kill everybody with Niv because you don't have enough cards left in your deck. So that's the deck. It's not the most powerful, but it's certainly fun and can win games, and it's not too expensive, and I hope you enjoyed the first deck tech.